Welcome back, everyone. I'm Lynn Doyle, and I, for one, love my job, but I'm apparently one of the fortunate people out there because some statistics are indicating that the majority of American workers are dissatisfied with their jobs and go so far to call themselves disgruntled. Are you one of them? Well, Stephen Slater is now the face of the disgruntled employee. He's the JetBlue flight attendant who decided he'd had enough. He quit after a profanity-laced tirade and gained national notoriety for his actions. At least he didn't do anything heinous like so many others have. Workplace shootings have become commonplace in this country when employees literally take out the boss, fellow employees, and sometimes themselves. Our guests are experts in dealing with these kinds of situations, and we've made, somewhat light of the fact that, Stephen Slater, the JetBlue guy, said, okay, take this job, shove it, I'm not doing this anymore. But this is a very serious problem in this country because every day we hear about a disgruntled worker who snaps.
Absolutely, Lynn. I mean, I think it's something that it's something both employers and employees need to work on. It's a relationship. Don't forget, employment is an employment relationship. It's something you work at on both ends, and employees need to learn how to manage their manager just as much as the managers need to learn how to manage their employees. And it works both ways. And I think that's something that hopefully a lot of people can take from this is that. And when you're dealing with the public, it's another whole element because you don't have as much control. But again, I think you have to recognize in that job that that's something you do have to deal with.
Okay, now, Ennis, earlier you said that people are feeling a disconnect in their workplace. Can you explain that, what you mean?
Sure. When I say disconnect, they feel disconnected with their managers. Usually their managers, the accessibility is limited now because everybody's so busy. The interpersonal has fallen as far as really getting to know your employees, getting to know what they like, what they don't like, what's going on in their personal lives, because they bring that to work as well.
Right, you both have mentioned that people
they're bringing all this
their stresses from home onto the workplace environment.
Right, so if you have ongoing communication with your employees, you have an open door policy. Remember we used to have the open door policy where you could make an appointment with your manager or walk in or something of that nature, then maybe you can kind of pinpoint there's some things going on.
Nowadays people are just emailing each other and probably
I think
texting.
That's part of the problem though, because you don't get to know somebody as well as much as, you can get a lot of information through texting and emailing, but it's that phone, it's that voice, it's that person, and when you get to know somebody, you say, you know what, that person's having a bad day, I'm going to let them go today. Or I think that they may need some help in something else. And you get to know when it's a bad day versus a problem. And that's part of what a lot of employment relationships are missing, is that contact, that understanding. And then it ends up with a disgruntled employee and a manager who can't manage an employee.
And that's a key point too, in terms of managing these relationships. And it even spills into interpersonal relationships, even with couples. I can't tell you how many times I have actually directed some of my clients not to text and to actually get on the phone or speak in person. And I think the same thing goes with managers. When we have this depersonalized, it decouples the relationship, and then we start seeing the people who we're working with as other. Then they become the enemy, then they become the problem, then they don't have a face. And once those relationships break down, anything can happen, and that's the key.
You start to read into those texts or read into those emails, and maybe you're putting an emphasis on something that the sender didn't necessarily intend.
Well, the other thing I think that happens with that is that when you see something and you're upset, what might be at the tip of your tongue is not necessarily what you should say. But it's so easy to shoot that off in an email
and hit send,
and you know what? It doesn't come back.
No, so, there ought to be a 5-second rule. Oh wait,
well that's it. I think there should be a 5-second rule. Don't respond so quickly. Just think about it for a second.
And you're onto something there, because neuroscientists tell us now it's a 6-second rule. That when we're activated, our limbic system, it takes about 6 seconds for us to calm down. If we do actually, I think our grandmothers were right. If we actually count to 10, even count to 6, we really will calm down. So lots of times we just move too quickly. If we just slow down for even 5-10 seconds, everything starts to see it differently.
So in the Stephen Slater situation, as I understand it, because obviously I wasn't there firsthand, there had been a confrontation earlier during the day. It kind of festered, and then he ended up getting hit in the head. So then there was the physical aspect to his anxiety and his emotion already.
And the escalation.
And the escalation. Now, as we pointed pointed out, it was dangerous what he did, but he did remove himself from the situation. Some people say that he actually did the right thing. He did not extend the physical confrontation any further.
Well, you like
He
to
went
see
99 yards. He didn't go all the way to the right thing. He got close to the right thing.
You know, I was reading also about this situation, and that there were some prior incidents that happened on previous flights, and the lady said that they were very dissatisfied with the customer service. And I think they did call JetBlue. However, they really couldn't get through and they couldn't make the report. I think that we need to go back to the old-fashioned surveys or evaluation and start evaluating how you were treated on the flight. Have them collected and then see if there is a consistency of behavior that they should look out for. Do they need retraining?
Like that's going to happen.
In addition
Yeah,
to
complain to your airline, Anna. So we'll talk to you when that's done.
He wasn't the only employee on that flight, and if there was that much of a problem and that much of a disconnect, you know, you would hope that maybe one of the other attendants could have recognized, you know what, this is becoming something that maybe I should step in and say, you know what, I'll take over. You don't deal with this passenger, I'll deal with this passenger. Or
It's part of the relationships
and
we talked about
that's
earlier.
exactly, and that's what I mean is that you need to get to know the people you're working with and work together for a common goal.
But let's be smart about this, and I mean realistic, not smart, but realistic. You say, you know, you need to have these interpersonal relationships. I'm all for that. I'm the flight attendant on this flight. I'm already overworked. And now you want me to take on this guy's problems too? It's like, deal with your own issue. I mean, don't you think that's how a lot of people might respond?
They do, and at their peril, because we're all in it together. That's what we lose sight of when we're overstressed. We begin to lose those connections because everybody's on that plane. We're all in the same workplace. If we're not watching each other's backs, we're really in trouble because we are taking on too much, we're doing more with less, and we cannot do it alone.
So what are some of the signs that we should be looking for in our coworkers, our managers, friends that are complaining about work? How do we know when it's crossing into the danger zone and it's not just somebody, you know, bitching about work?
I would say when there is when people are just repeatedly frustrated or anxious or irritated about something, when really it's really not a big issue, but they're blowing it up as it is. So when there is a consistency of that, we need to take notice of that, and especially if it's out of character for them.
Okay, on that note, taking a poll, everybody in the studio feel happy, healthy? Good, got a bunch of thumbs up. Anybody feeling frustrated? Just be sure to let me know. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to say what you can do if you know someone on the job who you think could be ready to explode, and also give you some tips on how to deal with your own frustrations if you find yourself disgruntled on the job. All of that and your comments right after.